Jon Stewart, how much do we love him? I'll go first. A lot, a lot, a lot. The multi-Emmy winning comedian returns to political satire with his new movie. It's called Irresistible. The former Daily Show host wrote, produced, and directed this comedy. It's about a small-town mayoral race. Now, there's a word, mayoral race. Steve Carell and Rose Byrne play rival Democratic and Republican strategists, think about that for a second, who bring big money and national attention to the Wisconsin town election.
The Democrat Party can't win. They're getting desperate. They don't know us. They don't want to know us. And they look down on our values.
No, that's we. You're DC elite.
Oh, no, actually, I'm from here.
Faith, I didn't know that. You're from Wisconsin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, Deer Lincoln. I'm from Deer Lincoln.
What?
Oh,
whoa.
Wow, so this campaign has been a bit of a homecoming.
It really is, Brooke. Thank you.
No. That's a lie. That's a lie.
No, it's...
You're lying.
She's lying.
That's no. That's what are you even doing?
Well, that's always a great and spirited discussion.
Oh, it's so well done, Jon Stewart. Hey, Jon Stewart. Jones is from his home somewhere in New Jersey. Jon Stewart, it's so smart, it's so funny, it's so thoughtful.
Oh,
those two, by the way, have, how shall we say, a sexual history, which also adds to it. Or maybe not.
Throw in a little bit of the scatological, a little bit of the sexy, you know. It's
so well done. So, John,
anytime you're going to make an R-rated, raunchy campaign finance reform film, you got to really go all out.
I pictured you sitting on your computer or wherever you do this stuff, just cracking up as you're writing this. What were you thinking? Didn't it feel good to be back in political satire? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, but where I write, I'm up here with the rabbit and the guinea pig and the rat. Okay. So I really try not to make any noise because they could attack me at any moment. We don't know what's going to go on up here. I'm in the attic.
You're in the attic. You know, you kind of look like you are in the attic. Where did the idea come from?
I was looking at you know, just the system and just how large it had grown, that sort of media industrial complex, and how much money was in it, and how much it sort of just kind of propagates itself. And it's like a game of musical chairs. There's no real accountability. When the music stops, nobody ever loses a chair. They win the election, they don't win the election. They just keep making money. There's more money in it, more influence. And I always thought, what would it be if somebody used that system's energy against it, like a judo move?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw, you know, they spent $50 million on off-year congressional elections, and it's just gotten worse.
I know, and you know what, John? You take aim at both parties in this movie. You wrote it with Steve Carell in mind. What were you thinking? Yeah. What were you thinking that Steve would be the perfect person to play this role? Because he's great in this.
He works very cheaply. This is low budget, and I knew we had a little bit of money for the lead actor and a little bit of money for catering, and I wanted to save some of that money, obviously, for the catering. He's so good. I mean, he's just such a talented, first of all, a lovely human being, but so funny. And listen, this character is not the most likable individual in the world, but when you have somebody like Steve doing it, it allows you to spend more time with that character without trying to punch him in the head.
John, I don't know. I'll just say this. I want to talk about the news of day, because I certainly miss your voice during this particular time. I always find myself thinking, what would you think? What would be your takes? I'm serious about this, because I find a lot of my white friends are calling me saying what to do, how to do, or a lot of white people calling you, your white friends calling you and saying, what do we do with this time? Because we're at a very crucial time. It's very painful. I think people are scared. I think people are afraid and really don't know what to do. They're doing deep dives and self-reflections. Are you getting a lot of calls from people? Are you talking about this with your white friends? What is the conversation?
Well, yes, no question. I think that a lot of it is, how do we move past defensiveness? Nobody likes to be called out on things that, you know, there's a couple of things going on. I think the first step is probably educating.
Yeah.
To that, you know, that gap that existed. And, you know, Black people have been put in the position in this country to negotiate their humanity with the powers that be. And at each turn, it's been denied to them, and there's been so much pain and anguish and blood spilled. And yet we haven't recognized that while they were fighting desperately for equality,
Yep.
the country and white people in the country were building equity.
Yeah.
And if you don't close the equity gap, you can't talk about the equality gap.
Yeah, you were making such a good point, and I'm also finding a lot of people doing a deep dive in self-reflection. Have you done that for yourself when you look at things that you've said or done in the past, or things you wish you could change? Like what?
Well, at the show all the time. I mean, we had, you know, when it started out, television, as you know, Gail, is a white male business, and it was certainly when I started in it. And the inertia of the system, you can have people in the system that aren't necessarily racist, but participate passively in a system that over the years, I mean, here's a great example. The majority of the people that would be hired to produce television shows come from internships.
Yeah. Right.
You know, because you meet them when they're young, and if somebody impresses you, if an opening happens, well, who gets the internships?
Yep.
Generally, it's more affluent white kids whose parents are able to afford to let them take 3 months and go to New York. So the tributary that's feeding the larger system is also rife with that inertia. And it's not enough to just say, oh, okay, then we'll start a program where we dole out 4 internships to people of color. Like, you have to change the entire framing around how these feeder systems grow up. It shouldn't, it feels like it shouldn't any longer be about concessions, like affirmative action, like, okay, I get it. 400 years, how's 5 points on your college application sound? Does that sound good?
Well, I do think this, Jon, because you know how this works, we have to go, but I do think that this moment in time, America's looking in the mirror and doesn't always like what it sees.
Sure.
And now maybe, just maybe, there will be some changes. We're in the middle of a political campaign. Have you decided who you're going to vote for yet? And then we got to go.
Yes, I have decided.
Okay. Thank you, Jon Stewart. The movie's called... I just love him. Thank you. The movie's called Irresistible. It opens in theaters today. It's available at home on demand.